Sarah Wigglesworth is the founder and principal of Sarah Wigglesworth Architects. 20 years ago, she hit the headlines with her Stock Orchard Street house and office, which has become an icon of sustainable design. Also known as the straw bale house, it uses ordinary materials transformed in innovative and low carbon ways to create a very distinctive architecture. The description of it as a place for living, working, gardening, bicycle mending, hen keeping and pond dipping seems particularly relevant for post-pandemic living. So Sarah, can you tell me how your practice has evolved since you finished the house?
Yes, well, we have now occupied our office part of the building for 20 years. And that's been really wonderful, having a place where we can sort of live, work and play, as your description so aptly said. I don't know where you got that from, but it was very beautiful. The practice has sort of grown and shrunk, maximum 15, we're now 10 people. And I guess I've sort of grown into the role as leader. I never sort of really thought very much about that when I founded the practice. But I mean, I've been working hard on sort of creating a culture where I feel people are valued and where they bring something to the table and feel able to, you know, put that out there so that we as a whole are greater than the sum of the parts. And I mean, that plays into quite a strong theme that we hold quite dear, which is sort of diversity and inclusion. And I personally am looking at issues around sort of female leadership for myself as much as other people, how to bring their careers on and give them agency. And I'm a member of Part W, which advocates for gender equality in architecture. So I'm still plugging away at that one. And I guess, you know, I'm still really interested, and partly through my work at Sheffield, where I was professor for 19 years, this idea of trying to make our practice really a sort of research practice and embedding ideas of sort of theory and rigor into the practice of architecture and learning through doing, so that we increase our knowledge and we do it better next time. So those are the things that are sort of key to what we're trying to do here.
Very good. And so what sort of projects are you working on at the moment?
So we've got a wide variety. I mean, we tend to work in the public sector mainly, and we've just finished actually a private house for 3 generations of the same family. And that's an idea that we've been playing with for a while, which is around multi-generational housing and how different ages of people can support one another to make very kind of stable social connections. So we've also just finished a community centre in Highbury, which has, you know, offers multiple activity for all ages, from tiny tots to grannies. And we've just about to complete the Kingston Mini-Holland, which is public realm improvements and transport interchange in Kingston. And on the drawing board, we're doing a lot of sustainability work, mainly in housing, so a new build housing estate in South Yorkshire. And we're doing quite a lot of eco retrofits of buildings of all different kinds, sort of post-war semis, which need external insulation and other gizmos to make them much more energy efficient. And also listed buildings in a conservation area where the whole issue around what you can do with the glazing, for instance, or how to retain, you know, moldings and other historic features becomes a really big thing. But we're also working, for example, and we have been for maybe 4 years now, in Ebbsfleet Healthy Garden City, again playing into our interest in sustainability, which is more to do with the social side of things, health and well-being, to look at policy and sort of, planning guidance for people working in that area. And we're currently working with Turner Works on Meanwhile Space for Ebbsfleet, trying to bring forward the new generation of buildings in the new city centre.
So you mentioned your Mini-Holland project down in Kingston, which was a part of a program that Boris Johnson set up. Can you tell me a bit more about that?
Yes, love to. So, I mean, the mini Hollands are basically around trying to change, I guess, nudge sort of patterns of behavior towards cycling and walking and other more healthy activities to move around for your, shorter journeys or your commute. And at Kingston, it's a really successful market town. And obviously it had the main bridge, the last bridge actually over the Thames before London Bridge. But recently its kind of movement patterns were disrupted by a big ring road that went over the new bridge. And one of the points about the Mini-Holland scheme there is that we are trying to re-embed, the older patterns of walking and cycling and the way you might move around the old market town, despite this new ring road. And we're also trying to to encourage people to use, cycling and walking more. So the new hub that we've built outside the station houses 750 bikes for people commuting around London and the southeast. And we've made amendments to the forecourt of the station to help sort of rebalance it away from a traffic roundabout that it can be sometimes, and privilege the pedestrian and make wayfinding to the town centre much more intuitive, because it's really hard to find your way. And it goes with a new bridge that's both shared by bikes and pedestrians, which leads to the riverside and is part of a sort of much greener route. It's newly landscaped following the railway line towards the river, so that people can kind of benefit from the much better environment that was hitherto very car dominated. And I mean, it really plays into the COVID agenda, because I think now the idea of, being on your own outdoors in good fresh air is going to be really important going forward.
Absolutely. And I guess that's a key part of how we build back better, how we build those into our cities. So what are the key things that you think should be better in the post-COVID city?
Okay, well, I would say this, wouldn't I? But I do think we need to build back greener. So we need to really embed sustainability at the heart of everything we do. But I think part of that is to build flexibly, because I think the old use classes, the way we think of buildings as being discretely either about housing or work or leisure, are actually becoming much more elided. And if we want to build, resiliently, so we're not knocking everything down all the time and building to minimum standards, we need to think of building slightly bigger, more flexibly and so forth, to accommodate a range of different kinds of activity and that are not, detrimental to our health. So I guess that's one thing. I mean, obviously ventilation is going to become a really big thing. So in a way that plays into building more airtight, better fabric efficiency, but with good mechanical ventilation and heat recovery. So that's a sort of no-brainer if you're going to build passive house or something. Obviously, green transport is really critical, and getting people to move better out of their own volition, I think, is going to be good, because and it's going to be really important because, I mean, that helps obesity, it helps our well-being, and so on and so on and so on. And it's sociable. And I guess, health and well-being comes into planning as well, so that, making sure that we build in the right place and we build multi-generational communities, so we're not ghettoizing people and putting development in the wrong place where there is no offer of, a local shop or good transport options to get you to the places you need to go, which might include the GP, but it might include, leisure activities and shopping, all of that. We need to think really hard about how we're doing that, but not make it over dense either. So we're reliant perhaps on vertical transportation, which can break down and then isolate people. And I think, I mean, that's the strategy. And then the sort of tactics around that are, we obviously need to sort of get our briefing better and our targets and aspirations really high. And then we need to think about how to procure projects better, so that we get a kind of ecology of people all contributing to this. So it's not just the big contractors or the big firms of architects, but everybody can contribute. build up our knowledge and skills, and that includes the construction industry, so that, you know, we are able to deliver, for example, the massive retrofit that we need to do, because that's actually quite detailed, specialist and fiddly work. And so we need people who really know how to do that. After all, that's the largest building stock we've got at the moment, and it needs all addressing. And I think also in the wake of Grenfell, there's probably a very important need for an oversight by somebody, from the briefing through the design, the delivery, the technical stuff, the monitoring on site, and then the post-occupancy, so that all of the pieces join together in a big loop, and we make sure we don't forget any one of those bits. Because if the chain is broken, then we won't deliver what we promised. And we know how to do it, but it's all of these pieces coming together, which is the critical factor in making it happen.
Wow, that's quite a list. But your Kingston project is a part of Building Back Better, and I shall get on my bike and go down and have a look at that this weekend. So, Sarah, thank you very much indeed.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.